Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 208, Saturday, September 30th, 2017. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Saturday evening, the weekend edition of TowerGate. Today's topic: how in the hell did the rotten Reverend lose the 2016 election? As the mountain of evidence continues to come out disproving the Russian narrative, the idea that Russia colluded in the election or that Trump and his team colluded with Russians to fix the 2016 elections, as that narrative is falling apart because of all the evidence that is mounting, including 3 new pieces of information we've learned in the last week and a half or so. Let's talk about those. We now have a final report being issued that shows that Russia did not target California or Wisconsin voting systems. Yes, they did find where the Russians were probing the California Department of Technology and the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development, but no meddling, no targeting, no probing, no hacking in either of the election systems in California or Wisconsin. And let's keep in mind that when we're talking about the intelligence agencies, such as the CIA or the Russian NSB or KGB or whatever you want to talk about, all countries engage in this type of espionage. They're constantly tapping into various government systems all around the world, and no one does more of this than the United States. It's what all countries do. Everyone spies on us, including our friends, the UK, the French, the Israelis. They're all meddling, spying, tapping, hacking right now as we speak. It's what they do. And this was probably a response, by the way, by the Russians to the NGOs that we set up in Russia, which we'll get back to in just a few moments. Let's move on. No, a new report comes out. Fake news did not dominate Twitter during the 2016 election cycle. Yes, everybody was talking about this. This was another excuse, but now that final report has come out, and now we're finding that there was no particular amount of Twitter news or anything like that by the Russians, by the Russian government, by any actors for the Russians who were promoting any type of pro-Trump or anti-Hillary stuff at all. There's no evidence whatsoever that there was any of that type of fake news having any position of dominance on any of the Twitter feeds. In fact, we know for a hard fact that people who have worked at Twitter, who have come out and told us that their upper management were actually telling them to move trending topics on Twitter that were in favor of Hillary Clinton to the top of the list and deranking those that were favorable to Trump. That's the only real rigging or fixing that was going on over there at Twitter. But there's more. We also learned this week that a Hillary super PAC violated federal election law when it accepted $200,000 in donations by a federal contractor. That federal contractor was Suffolk Construction Company. They donated $200,000 to the Rotten Reverend's super PAC. They have now been fined $34,000. They received a total of federal contracts from the Department of Defense totaling $976 million. Now, the Clinton PAC itself got off the hook because they could find no proof that the donation was solicited. The donation was made unsolicited, as far as they know. But I'm sure if we could dig into the details, we would find something much different. But you know how that goes. But we also learned, more importantly, in the past week and a half, thanks to those Podesta emails, we learned that Facebook colluded with the Hillary Rotten Clinton campaign. There were direct contacts between Podesta and the COO of Facebook. Her name is Sheryl Sandberg. Also, personal contact between Podesta and Mr. Zuckerberg, and we both know where they stand. One Podesta email we have, which we can all read, shows Sandberg telling Podesta that she, quote, wanted Hillary to win badly, unquote. She also said that she was looking forward to working with the first woman president of the United States. Then we have Podesta in another email thanking Sandberg for her help and support. Hillary, the rotten Reverend, had the entire corporate media on her side. She was given the debate questions. We know at least 2 cases of that because Donna Brazile came out and admitted it. And we can only speculate as to whether or not the rotten Reverend got debate questions in her debates against Trump. I'm thinking she probably did. They just haven't got caught yet. And the massive voting fraud, if there was any voter fraud, was in her favor. How the hell did the rotten Reverend lose? We've learned from the Facebook ads recently in the last week that those Facebook ads, now that they've been turned over, we find that the Kremlin-linked trolls were posting ads on Facebook supporting the rotten Reverend and Black Lives Matter. There was $100,000 in Facebook ads. Mueller is now in possession of this report. We'll see if he shifts his focus to look at the rotten Reverend and her collusion. Think he will? Ha ha ha! No way! Because the fix is in, just like it was during the election, but it failed. And Uncle Bob, he's going to fail too. Most ads, in fact, were not even in support, really, of either candidate. They were simply to focus on social issues to promote chaos and upheaval. This is largely payback. Remember what I told you earlier? For the past 15 years, prior to 2015, when Putin kicked those NGOs out, we're talking non-government organizations, private organizations working in concert with the federal government and the intelligence agencies, were over in Russia trying to do the exact same to promote chaos and upheaval and to discredit Putin and to try to drive him out. This is what we were doing for a very, very long time until Putin finally got sick of it and booted out all those NGOs. Probably this was a little payback. And all countries do it. We're doing it right now. We're doing it in Venezuela. We're doing it in Ukraine. We're doing it in Syria. We're doing it all over the globe. We've always has been. I just did a video, didn't I, folks? About 2 weeks ago, where I laid out all the countries whose leaders we have overthrown, whose revolutions we have started, counter-revolutions, color revolutions, coup d'etats, putschs, you name it. How do you think we got rid of Mr. Yanukovych in Ukraine? The fact of the matter is, Clinton, the rotten Reverend, had nearly all the corporate media, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, and all the rest, in her pocket. She had $1.2 billion. That's $1.2 billion. And where did she get all that money? She got most of it from Wall Street, the military-industrial complex, and 25% from the Saudis. Of course, we know that she cheated in the debates. She even invaded Trump's safe space and blamed him for doing that himself. It was her. She said, oh, he came over into where I was standing. It was really creepy. No, I've seen the video. He was standing behind his podium. He stepped away from the podium about 3 feet, and then you, rotten Reverend, came over into his safe space and stood in front of him. That's what really happened. Let's not forget the voter fraud. That's still being investigated. Let's not forget the neocons. They were on your team, Reverend. They were all on your team. Magoo, Lindsey Graham, Candy Pants, Twitch McConnell, Big Ears Brian, all the neocons. Bill Kristol of the Weekly Standard, the chief publication of neoconservatism. He came out publicly, I believe on Face the Nation or one of the Sunday morning shows, and gave his full endorsement to you, the rotten Reverend. The neocons. The Never-Trumpers. Oh, they were all on board with you. They were all on board with you. I'm pretty sure the Bushes voted for you, Reverend. Didn't George W. Bush once say that the Rotten Reverend was like family? Oh, we had all of social media supporting you, Rotten Reverend. Facebook, which we just discussed, Mr. Zuckerberg and his lackey, Miss Sandberg. We had, of course, nearly all the social media, including the heads of Google. We were also told, if you remember, watching MSNBC and CNN and ABC and CBS and all the rest, telling us this massive level of advantages that you, Rotten Reverend, had an organization, grassroots organization on the ground. You know, all those people who are paid to bus people to the polls so that they can vote at least once, whether they're legal or not. We know that there was 6,500 people bussed in for one day to vote in Vermont. We had the Wall Street banks, whom you gave speeches to and collected lots and lots of cash. They were all in your corner, Reverend. The military industrial complex, who were hoping to cash in big from a war with Iran, from the intervention in Syria, setting up that no-fly zone, setting off a standoff between us and the nuclear-armed Russians. That would have been a beaut. Thank God that didn't happen. But they were all behind you, pulling for you, donating to you. We know that Google, the CEOs of Google, Facebook, Twitter, Netflix, and Tumblr all came out publicly and endorsed you, Reverend. You, Reverend. We had the UN. Yes, that's right. All those left-wing whack jobs at the United Nations fully supporting you, Reverend, and telling us why we should fear Trump. We had foreign leaders over there at the UN, including Merkel, May, Macron, and the Saudis, and many more, all in the tank for the Reverend. We had the sitting president, including everyone in his administration, Barack Hussein Obama, all in the tank for you, Reverend. The government of Ukraine. That's right. We just learned, and we may get some investigation of this now, that a new sheriff is in town. We know that the DNC, the Rotten Reverend campaign, were all colluding with the government of Ukraine to run negative publicity on Donald Trump. We had 3 to 5 million illegal voters. Could be more. We're still sniffing that one out. That report has not come in yet, but we know we keep finding millions of illegal votes that were cast, many in California, and they were all voting for you, Reverend. Of course, the voter fraud and the dishonorable, the very dishonorable felon, James Comey, FBI director, failing to prosecute the Rotten Reverend for her crimes. Not once, but twice he exonerated her for those crimes. You had the entire Hollywood film industry. Everyone in Hollywood out supporting the Rotten Reverend. Remember George Clooney threw that big party, came back from the UK just to bring all his leftist friends to raise a boatload of money for you, Reverend. All for you, Reverend. Now he thinks you're a rotten politician. He finally got one thing right. Of course, we had the entire music industry. Let's not forget that. That's right, you showing up to Beyonce and Jay-Z concerts. And all their friends, the entire music industry, including the big CEOs of Time Warner and all the rest, endorsing you, Reverend. Endorsing you. The entire music and film industry in the tank for the Rotten Reverend. 95% of black women in the tank for you, Reverend. 71% of Latinos in the tank for you, Reverend. Not for Trump. 92% of the total black vote, all for you, Reverend. How the hell did she lose? How the hell did she lose with all that? She had 3 schedulers, 3 hairdressers, 2 makeup artists, a nutritionist, 2 doctors, including Dr. Frankenstein with his EpiPen right there waiting to give her a little jab if she attempted to fall down or flipped out or zombied out. And let's not forget, she traveled with a Scooby van in case she collapsed like a sack of potatoes, like she did on September 11th, and she did other times that didn't even get reported in the mainstream corporate media. She had everyone in the tank, and she still lost. How the hell did she lose? And then we get one final piece of wisdom from the rotten Reverend. After losing the election, she's doing a lot of reading. She decides to pick up 1984 by George Orwell, and she concludes after reading it that the message in 1984, George Orwell's book, is that we need to trust the government and our leaders. Oh my God, how the hell did she lose? Everyone in the tank for the rotten Reverend. There was no Russian collusion. There was the only Russian interference appears to have been to help the rotten Reverend, to stir up some more shit, which should have helped the rotten Reverend, but it did not, because there's nothing you can do to help the rotten Reverend Clinton. She's helpless, hopeless, clueless. Unbelievable. And the hits just keep on coming. It's not over. We're going to learn much, much more as this situation plays out. But the mountain of evidence that's now coming to light is showing that there was no Russian collusion, no collusion between Trump and Russian officials, no one helping President Trump. Everyone was against him. The only one he had in his corner for people like me who can look at a fraud and a crony and a criminal like the rotten Reverend and know that she's no good. Trump gave us some policies, some ideas, some things to vote for. Some things to vote for. What was Hillary Clinton for? I can't remember a damn thing. Bunch of platitudes. Very, very many platitudes. Nothing actually backing them. That's right. But with all the fact that Hillary had everyone, every single major entity that you normally need to have on your team to win, she should have won. How the hell did she lose? Unbelievable. That's the big story. That's the book that she should write. How the hell did I lose? I cheated. I got money from everybody. I had all the media on my side. I had everything going for me. And I still wasn't able to sell my soap. No one buying. Not enough people buying. And as soon as we find out how many illegal votes, my guess is we're going to find out that Trump not only won convincingly the Electoral College, but he probably won the popular vote too. So we ask the question for you, my subscribers, viewers of this video, please tell me in the comments section, how the hell did the rotten Reverend lose? Thank you so much for tuning in. TowerGate, day 208, Saturday, September 30th, 2017. I'll be back tomorrow with the Sunday evening edition of TowerGate. Y'all have a good night. Goodbye.